So Chris Weidman, here we are in Las Vegas. Once again in Las Vegas. It seems like you only fight in Las Vegas. Does this feel more like a home game than if you were fighting back east?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't fought back east since I was in the Ring of Combat, which I always felt like Jersey was my home because New York didn't have MMA legalized. So all my Ring of Combat fights were in Jersey, and I felt comfortable there. Ever since then, the UFC always just kind of brought me different places. I never fought anywhere near the East Coast. And then my first fight actually fighting in Vegas was my Anderson Silva fight, my first Anderson Silva fight. My first fight ever even being on a pay-per-view was my first Anderson Silva, was fighting the greatest of all time as a main event.
Was in Vegas, and then Machida.
And then the second fight was it's kind of crazy because my first fight with Anderson Silva was at the MGM, and then my second fight with Anderson Silva was at the MGM. So you got to think like Anderson Silva, he's just got knocked out by me, and then 6 months later he's in the same exact arena fighting the same exact guy. For me, it was like I just feel so comfortable here. I love it. It's just all great feelings. I can imagine for him it was like the opposite. It was nightmares.
So when you came back here, you haven't fought in a while. Was it at least familiar? All right, I've been here before. I know the lay of the land.
For my second Anderson Silva fight?
No, when you came back here for this fight.
Oh, yeah, and then also my Lyoto Machida fight.
Of course, yeah.
Remember that was at the Mandalay, but it's the same. It was the same, basically the same thing. I do feel so comfortable here. The process that I go through to get here. I leave on a Sunday. I get here Sunday night. I get acclimated. I have things I like to do. We play video games. We have a suite away from the hotel that we're actually fighting in, so we're not bothered too much. It's just my wife is in the suite with the kids, in the hotel we're fighting in. Like it's for the last, I guess, 2 years, it's been this way. So it's really comfortable to me. It kind of feels like almost just what I do at this point.
We haven't seen you in action since July of last year, and I have to admit, it really feels like people have kind of forgotten about you. Like you just haven't been in the mix. I think to a degree they might be a little skeptical still. The injuries, I think, have played a part where they weren't even sure if you're going to fight. Like they don't want to get too excited about your fights. Do you get that impression as well? Like people, they have yet to buy into you. Like they have other people, champions or not. Mm-hmm. They have yet to fully invest in you.
Yeah, yep, I agree with you. And it's kind of crazy. If you were to write down my fight record and all my stats and everything like that, you would be like, oh, this guy's a freaking beast. This guy's accomplished so much. It's like, who could ever doubt him? I beat Anderson Silva twice, the greatest of all time. Both finishes, both times I said I was going to finish him. Granted, the second time is not the way anybody would like to see the fight be finished, but watch the fight. I was completely dominating him. I dropped him in the first round. Then I go on to beat Lyoto Machida, a guy who was unbeatable looking at the middleweight division at the time. And now I'm going to go out there and dominate Vitor Belfort. Vitor Belfort is a guy that's going to, I think, silence some more doubters. But it's crazy. I think what happened is just me coming up so fast. Yeah, I was fighting Anderson Silva at 9-0. I mean, who's fighting Anderson Silva at 9-0? It's just never been done before. And then this kid's going to come out and saying he thinks he could beat Anderson Silva and thinks he could finish him. People hated me. The death threats I had to me and my family over Twitter and things like
legit, like serious stuff.
I mean, more like Brazilian people. So I'm hoping, like, all right, I hope they don't take the flight over here.
Sure, yeah. Did you ever actually say we need to worry about this?
A little bit, but I didn't really. We were just kind of like a little bit. I thought about it, like these people are freaking. Some of these people are crazy, but I didn't think there was any realistic chance of anything bad happening. But so I'm saying is I had people hated me from the get-go, and then they wanted me to see let's see, he's gonna get killed in the second fight, and then I go out there and the way, even though like you read in between the lines and you see what I did in the first fight and the second fight, in the first fight, I mean, for me, it was clean cut. I knocked him out. I knocked out Anderson Silva. He's never been knocked out before. He's never been beaten in the UFC. He couldn't really hit me with anything. The only thing he hit me with was leg kicks in the fight. And every single one of his fights, every time he spars, I watch sparring of him, he has his hands down and he's taunting the guy. When guys are trying to punch him. And that's part of what makes him great. And I go out there and knock him out while he is doing his taunting. And all of a sudden it's a lucky punch and Anderson Silva wasn't fighting for real. So for me, it's just funny how people could talk like that and see it, as it was a fluke, he was playing around. And at the time, I didn't want to argue with them because it's all good. I'm going to fight him again. We're having an immediate rematch. I'm going to prove you guys all wrong. And so I don't care what you guys say. Like, as long as you watch, I don't care. Here we go. So confident in the second fight. I mean, I saw everything he did coming. I mean, I dropped him in the first round with a punch to his head. He drops, and I literally woke him up with punches. There was just no way Anderson Silva was going to beat me. It's a shame for both of us that it ended with him breaking his leg.
But I think you may have done yourself a disservice by continuing to say he's still the greatest of all time after you beat him twice, in the fashion in which you beat him. In hindsight,
it's because
I
don't put that. I probably not. I don't know, because I don't really think about it too much. Everybody's saying he's the greatest of all time. You hear Dana say it, so I'm not thinking about who's the greatest of all time. I'm not like putting all these fighters on a list and like, oh wait, he beat these guys, so I think he should be known as the greatest of all time. I don't do that. I hear what people say, and I'm like, all right, if they're saying he's the greatest of all time, all right, he's the greatest of all time. I beat the greatest of all time twice. Does that mean you're the greatest of all time? People would ask me, and I'd be like, no, it doesn't, because I have such high goals for myself, and one of them is to be the greatest of all time. And maybe I could be considered the greatest of all time right now, just by looking at my record, just by the guys I beat so far. That it's so short in my career for me to just start talking like that. It's just different. It's just weird for me.
But do you think if you would have puffed your chest out a little more after beating him twice, you know, some guys, if they would have defeated him twice, Anderson Silva, they would have been parading with that title all over the place. You didn't exactly do that. And you said, I'll give you a rematch and all that stuff. Do you think if you would have done that, perhaps more would have come your way?
You know, who knows? Probably. I probably could have made some more money. You know, at the time, like when I'm coming up, I was 9-0, and coming up, you know, I was always like a likable person. When I meet somebody, I think I'm a likable person. I think I'm respectful of other people, and I like to be respect back. So I always liked the idea of being liked by somebody. It was foreign to me that all of a sudden I'd have people to hate me. So I didn't want to do anything at that point in my life to like, I don't want to say things like I beat him, I'm the greatest of all time. It was hard for me to do that because I already had all these guys hating me. I don't want anybody else to hate me more. Like I think I'm a nice guy. I think they should see that and like, you know, want to support me. And so at that time it was hard for me to talk like that. I just wasn't, you know, ready to do that. I don't know if I really thought of it like as a marketing, like in a marketing way, a way to make money. I wasn't thinking. I'm a competitor. I'm going out there and winning. I'm winning. It'd be nice, you know. People want support. People want people to like them. It's just in them. But I've grown a lot since then. I've learned a lot. You know, I kind of just don't care anymore what people think about me. I could just be myself, and I've learned a lot. You know, I'm more secure in who I am. So it's a little easier just to talk a little bit more carelessly.
You know, people ask me sometimes, what do you love most about covering MMA? And I say it's really the athletes because they're so down to earth. You know, when you talk to other athletes in other sports, it's all very canned answers. You never really get to find out who they are. And I often bring you up as an example, as someone who I met prior to being in the UFC, who is literally the same exact guy today as champion, still undefeated, beating these legends. But in between, you know, since, you know, let's just say now and beating Anderson Silva, in between, was there ever a point where Chris Weidman ceased to be the same old Chris and you had to be brought back? Was there ever a point where you thought maybe your head was getting too big and you had a chat? Or was it always just the same old, humble, all-American guy?
You know, let's not. Because
you had a lot.
Do you want to just cap it at the Anderson Silva fight all the way past my Lito Machida moving up to this fight?
Yeah.
Just throughout my career.
A lot happened to you.
Absolutely. I'm a human being. You start seeing your accomplishments and you're proud of yourself, and you kind of like think all these different things you could have, and you're getting anything you want. You really, you know, anything I want.
The world is your oyster.
The world is pretty much mine, you know. And yeah, I'm human, and you see all that stuff, and you're like, oh, this is awesome. But I'm blessed in the fact that I have a wife at home. I have kids. I have close friends and family. I live in the same area I grew up in. I'm with the same team I started with. So as much as I would love to kind of go and do stupid things, I had such good people around me that kept me strong, you know, and kept me grounded. And if I was ever to screw up, which I've screwed up plenty of times in my life, I'm far from perfect, but every time I would screw up, I have these people who are looking at me like, what are you doing? I have people that kept me to who I am. And that's the reason why I'm still the same person I was when I met you when I just first started fighting to where I'm at now. It's because of my wife, it's because of my kids, it's because my teammates, my coaches, and my friends and my family is the reason why I'm able to stay grounded. And that's why I don't judge a guy like Jon Jones. And I had a feeling you were kind of going into that direction. I could be wrong, but I think the second that you say that you wouldn't do something is the second that you're a little bit closer to possibly doing that. Mm-hmm. So I won't ever say that I wouldn't do anything that Jon Jones has done and been caught for doing. And we're all humans. We're all capable of doing stupid things. And given the circumstances that he's had presented to him, being a champion, the youngest champion, and going through everything that he's gone through, I felt it. I have some of the things that Jon has. I think he's more successful than me at this point. He's won more title bouts. He was champion at a younger age. But the things that he's done, I just think he's just on the wrong path. He just went onto the wrong path for a little bit of time, and he might not be as fortunate to have people that right in his face all the time to tell him what are you doing? Come on, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. You're not going to feel good after that. When you come home, you're not going to feel good about that. Mm. And I think maybe he's just going down the wrong path, and I think he'll come back. But what Jon Jones has now, he has an opportunity. He's really in a great situation because his secrets are all out. Everybody has secrets, but guess what? Everybody knows, not all of his secrets, but they know some secrets he definitely didn't want anybody to know. There's nobody more powerful and inspirational than somebody who's made a lot of mistakes is not afraid to talk about it. Mm. Because everyone is messed up. Everybody screws up every single day. And so he's able to be a spokesperson now. If he gets his head straight and he has the right people around him and he starts, doing the right thing, he has the ability to be such a influential person in society and be the role model that he should be. Because he could say, listen, I screwed up, look at me, look what I did, but now look where I've become, where I am. So I just think he has so many tools now, these terrible things that I don't have. I didn't screw up and do all these terrible things publicly to where I'm going to be like, look at these things and I can help you. He has a huge up in that. And it's crazy because I'm doing the right thing, I'm not doing it. But yeah, he's going to be more influential. So I think when it all's said and done, he's going to end up coming back and doing some great things for the world,
Your story, a well-documented one. We don't have to go through the past of everything you've been through, Hurricane Sandy, all that stuff. But one thing I want to know is when you were living in your parents' basement with just one child, your daughter, and you had yet to make it really, you were just trying to make it in this sport. You weren't even in the UFC, right? Mm-hmm. Was there ever a point where you were sitting there, you're up at night, maybe your wife and your child are sleeping, and you're there, and you're the father, you're the provider. I read on Players Tribune you were making $15,000 a year.
15.
1.5. Was there ever a point where you were thinking what am I doing here? I mean, this is a crazy thing, and I'm doing a disservice to them. And do you still think about those moments now when you have, as you say, the world at your fingertips?
So it was some tough times, man. It's crazy. Just, I don't know why I'm getting emotional with you, but I know you love this. But yeah, man, there was times where 100% I was done. And in just one instance, it happened lots of times, especially at that point. I was making no money, $15,000, but slaving, training, getting my master's, after doing clinics until 10 o'clock at night, doing private lessons with two guys for an hour each until 12 o'clock at night, waking up and starting over. And then I had this dream of becoming this mixed martial artist, and I'll never forget. I was 2-0. I was 2-0. I did great, and I injured my hand. I got my hip bone. Oh, there it is. That's my hip bone in there. So I had this serious hand injury, and no matter what I did, it wasn't healing. It was a year goes by. I'm 2-0. I'm still making no money. Usually you have to be 6-0, 8-0, 10-0 to get into the UFC and to actually start making some money. And I didn't know what was going to happen. I couldn't train. Every time I hit a pad, even after a year, it was so painful. And everyone around, the closest family members, which is Chris, you need to get a real job. You need, my wife was busting her ass. She was getting her CPA. She from my daughter, she was pregnant. Working every day. And, it was tough. not be able to provide. Damn it!
I
Can't
know.
believe this is happening. Bastard.
But that's the emotions of that uncertainty coming up, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did you used to cry like when they were sleeping? I'm sure you don't want your wife or your daughter to see that, right?
You know, yeah, it was tough. You know, I think I need a second here.
How close were you to actually quitting?
Real close. What happened is I was close to quitting a couple of times, but I ended up. We just booked a fight. I was gonna be done. My wife gave me like a year plan to get things moving and to show and to start making money with this, and it wasn't happening. I got injured, and she was gonna keep supporting me. But at the time, she was getting her CPA, and again, I was saying she was pregnant with my daughter and like working full time and studying for a CPA, like literally working all day long, and I was kind of just trying to live my dream, and so I felt very selfish.
Yeah.
And I felt, like, what am I doing? Am I really? There was no guarantee of anything. So when I was injured, I was pretty much like, I'm done. But we ended up just booking a fight, and it happened to be against Uriah Hall. He was the top guy. So I needed to get to UFC quick because I didn't know. I thought my hand was gonna. I didn't know how much longer I had with this hand. I thought it was gonna be forever. I was having a hand issue. So we booked this fight with Uriah Hall, even though I couldn't really punch or hit pads. I'm like, I have to fight. I have to make money. I have to try to accomplish my goal. I don't think the hand will ever get better. I have to figure maybe I'll just try to wrestle or whatever. And so we booked the fight, and the next thing I know it, I got the fight. I beat Uriah Hall, knocked him out. The left hand. That's how I got good with my left hand, which ended up knocking out Anderson Silva too. Was because of this hand. And I beat Uriah Hall, and then I got another fight like a couple months later on short notice, another one in ring combat, and somehow in between there, my hand just healed. It got better finally, and I started seeing the light a little bit. So then I was 4-0. I beat this Brazilian guy named Valdir Araújo. He's actually on the Ultimate Fighter now. And then I had, so at that point I'm 4-0, and I beat some good prospects. So I'm thinking like, all right, try to get me in the UFC. My manager calls the UFC, and they were like, he needs to get more fights. So I'm just like, and it's a lot of time in between each fight in the ring combat. It's like 3-4 months or whatever in between each one. So this time just keeps talking, and it just keeps making me look stupid, and like I should just stop doing this, because by the time I get in the UFC, like you don't know what's gonna happen.
By the way, does your wife ever say she wants you to stop, or is she supportive?
She was supportive. She was supportive, but there was a lot of tough times. I mean, I wasn't making. I mean, listen, I was just a lot of credit card debt, school debt, like just trying to make make everything work out. I'm living in the basement with my parents, just.
How big is this basement?
Small, very small. We actually went into debt trying to build it out. Like we put the bathroom there. There was no bathroom, and everything was like credit cards and asking friends to help and us doing it. Yeah, I don't know where I was going.
Well, I was wondering about when you're.
Oh, hang on. So 4-0.
Okay.
So I'm 4-0, and the UFC doesn't want me. So I'm like, what the hell? Like, what am I gonna do? So now we're talking to Bellator and Strikeforce, and I'm dying for money. I broke for so long at this point. I look so stupid. I just want to kind of prove to my family that I could do it for them, and I prove to my friends and family that I'm not doing this for nothing. Like, I actually bring home money. Bellator offered me a small what's it called, signing bonus. And so I was close to signing with them. We actually made dinner reservations. I was really excited. And at the time, the money, I can't say it because legally I'm not allowed to say it, but let's put it like this, it was very small, but in my eyes at the time, it was life-changing.
Right.
So we did dinner reservations with my family. We were going to do it, but then something didn't work out with the contract. So I just needed a little bit more time to think about this. My coaches always wanted to be in the UFC. Ray and Matt, they did the Ultimate Fighter. Matt was the UFC champion. They wanted me in the UFC, but they understood the struggles I was going through, and they were going to support me to go to Bellator if I needed to make it happen, because they knew I was dying for the money. So then I decided to take some time off. I'm just thinking about this. So 3 days later, I end up fracturing my rib. My friend Volante's fighting on the Strikeforce card. I see him accomplishing his goals. He's making real money. And I'm sitting there in his corner. No one knows who I am, and I have fractured ribs. And now I'm like, I might just be signing with Bellator because I just keep getting injured. This is ridiculous. I just need to make some money. And then literally when I was at my friend's Strikeforce fight, my manager at the time gets a call from Joe Silva saying, "Is that Weidman kid still interested in coming to UFC?" 2.5 weeks notice, Alessio Sakara needs a fight on the main card of Versus at the time. And he was on a 3-fight win streak and all this other stuff. And I was just like, are you kidding me? And I remember just seeing him on ESPN. UFC people in my mind still, even though I had a lot of confidence in myself, there still was like a different league.
Sure.
I'm like, oh crap, like I want to be in the UFC, but now all of a sudden I'm fighting Alessio Sakara. This is a step up. This is ridiculous. But we took the fight, and I could hardly breathe at the time. My ribs were fractured again.
Wow.
I just fractured my ribs, and Longo was just like, if as long like I wanted to be in the UFC, they guaranteed me 2 fights. So I was like, even if I happen to lose this one, I could stay there. But at that point, it was like just do cardio to the fight, and I remember just like mentally like, this is not what I imagined. I always imagined being like 4-0, 6-0, 8-0, and getting a fight, 8 weeks to prepare, and showing the world that I'm the freaking best. Like this kid is a prospect. He is gonna be. He has UFC championship. He's UFC champion material. And then, like given the circumstances, it didn't look like that was. It was not.
It was a dominant win, but it wasn't something that people were going crazy
no,
about.
No,
but then it came out after that you were injured, so maybe,
yeah, it came out after I was injured, but for 2.5 weeks I could hardly do anything. But mentally, I was just like, I gave myself no excuse to lose that fight, even though I couldn't train. I was just like, I am not losing. I don't care what anybody thinks. I'm going out there and win this fight, and I found a way to win.
What was tougher, that or what you endured prior to the Maia fight?
Both. I'd say the Maia fight was the toughest thing I've been through.
How close were you to actually quitting there?
Nope, I was gonna die before I quit.
Were you close to dying?
I know. I've said it before. Yeah, I think I was close. I think I was probably close to dying. It was that bad.
Wow.
I've cut weight a lot of times in my life, and I never recommend anybody to do this. And this is not the right way to do it. And it was completely my fault. I took the fight on 10 days' notice, cut 32 pounds in the 10 days. I was 32 pounds before I ate dinner that night when I got the phone call. The next 2 days later, my uncle dies. Terrible. He was a very close uncle of mine. My dad's brother lives around a couple towns away from me. He fell down the stairs and smashed his face. It's like
crazy accident.
Complete accident. I had to go there. We helped clean up his blood. Me and my dad were the first to pronounce him dead.
Oh,
it was one of the worst.
Was he older, man?
He was early 60s.
Wow.
So he was fine. It wasn't.
Yeah. Slipped
down the stairs. So there was so much going on in my head leading up to that fight. There's nothing that could ever compare. And then to actually cut the weight was scary. What I put myself through. I remember towards the end. I mean, I could hardly remember most of it, but towards the end, I went to the sauna for 15 minutes. And at that time, when so much water is taken out of you, to go in the sauna for 15 minutes is like the worst thing. But I just dragged myself in there, and every time I stood up, I'd faint. Two people on the side holding me up. Longo literally was crying.
Really?
Yeah, they wanted to call them and just like, he's not doing it. But I was like, please, no. I could hardly talk. I had no fluid in my mouth to be able to get any words out. I just was like, tell him, I'm gonna keep going. I went into the sauna for 15 minutes. I came out, I gained 0.1, a tenth of a pound somehow.
Wow.
I was done sweating, and I still was 2 pounds over. And I would lay in towels, get up, they'd bring me up, I'd black out, stand there, they'd hold me up for about 10, 15 seconds until I'd be able to get to see again, and then I'd walk into the sauna, lay there, go back out. It was the worst experience I ever went through. So the biggest thing, and then before you do weigh-ins, you have to see the athletic commission. They ask you questions. And I remember I was laying down, I was just out of it, I just wanted to get on the scale, obviously, and I couldn't think, I couldn't talk. But they're like, I forgot who was with me and telling me, Chris, they're gonna ask you questions, you have to know you have to know your name and your birthday and stuff like that. I remember them asking my birthday, and I literally was like, don't screw this up. I felt like I was being interrogated, and I didn't want them to know that I could hardly do anything. I couldn't really, they probably would have not let me fight. So I was just had to focus so much to try to act somewhat normal. It was a crazy situation.
So it's never been an easy road for you. It's all these things, and then of course Hurricane Sandy, and we went to visit you there.
My Machida fight, I got a broken hand. I can't hit pads.
But then I recall you were on my show in February. You were on my show in February, and I appreciate the time very much, and we'll wrap up soon. Oh, I don't want you to break your phone.
It's love. You made me cry on this show.
Well,
I'll do anything for you now because that's gonna get cut. I'm just kidding.
I remember when you were on my show in February when you had to pull out of this Vitor fight, and you guys, I mean, you were supposed to fight a year ago. You were supposed to fight Memorial Day, and he had to withdraw because of the drug test, and then you had your injuries. And then I remember talking to you in February after this last blowout, the injured rib, and you were in a very dark place. Do you remember that? I mean, we were talking about the people who were questioning you, questioning your toughness, your manhood. People were saying, enough of you, you're this brittle champion. Do you remember how, like, your voice, you were not this guy, you were not, even throughout, like, when I saw you at Sandy, you had such a happy face on. I mean, you were like, oh, this is no big deal, people are going through worse. But there, it seemed like something, like you had really, to me, it felt like the first time since all these great things have been happening to you where you went back to, like, starting to question maybe yourself. Did that ever happen? Like where it became the
I know what you're getting.
It was not as rosy as it was, you know, as you were coming up. When you were coming up, you were able to like keep like dodging all these missiles thrown your way. Yeah. But in February, it was almost like people were starting to really come at you, attack you, and question you, and say you should be stripped, and there should be an interim title, and all these things. Oh, yeah. That must have been really a hard thing to deal with, right? As you're injured.
Well, yeah, you just heard some of the stories I told you and some of the things I gave to the sport and things I've pushed through. You know, I've almost killed myself for the sport. And then for people to question me is definitely like, are you kidding me? And the thing is, like, people, because we were set up to fight, I think, they set it up in December or something before that?
It was supposed to be in May, and then
He failed the drug test.
Yes, and then it was supposed to be December, and then it was supposed to be February.
So December, my injury was from before the Lyoto Machida fight, I had a broken hand. So I go into that fight in a broken hand, but I thought it was sprained. We went and got it x-rayed, and it just came back as a sprain. So I thought we were good. We find out that they misread it afterwards.
Yeah.
Like a couple weeks after, my hand was not healing. I was like, this hand is not going away. I still can't do anything with it. This is crazy for a sprain. So I had to get it x-rayed again a month later. I'm like, well, there's something has to be wrong with this hand. Let me go check it again. Get it checked. It's broken. We find out it was broken before, too. So it's the same injury. But they already booked this fight in December, but I had a broken hand. So, okay, the doctor says I'm not going to be ready to fight in December with full training camp or whatever. So it's not like they booked the fight earlier than they probably should have. I was still injured from before the Lyoto Machida fight. So it's not like I backed out of the fight. The first fight I ever backed out of my life was this February fight, where I actually had to pull out during a camp, which has never happened before. I never pulled out during a training camp. I never got injured.
And then everyone starts questioning you.
And then everybody starts questioning me.
And how did you react to that? Because it almost felt like you wanted to like scream at the top of your lungs.
You know, there was a point where, like during that time I was struggling. Actually, me and my wife had to get out. We went out of town.
You had to leave.
That's the first person. Your first person. We left. We went to we went to Puerto Rico. Me and my wife just got a babysitter for the weekend. Left on a Friday. Came back on that Sunday or Monday. I was like, I was struggling with it because, again, like I work as hard as I can every day. I give so much to the sport. I've done so many things. I was living in my parents' basement, suffering and wanted to quit and kept on pushing through. I persevered through so much. You know, the fight, my first fight in the UFC, I have a fractured rib on short notice. I take it. I do things. My Damian Maia fight, my Machida fight, the last fight I had a broken hand for, and I gave a fight of the night performance, one of the fight of the years, and then all of a sudden they're just not happy, and so I just need to get away from for a while.
So because of the layoff, because of the fact that people were questioning you, because of the history with Vitor, and you guys have kind of gone back and forth a little bit, is this personal for you, this fight? And because of what he represents as well, you've been very open about his past and what you think about what he's done. Yeah. Is this a personal thing?
It's personal. There's no question about it. It's personal. It's not because he's cheated in the past and got caught for it. I'm not like a guy who like thinks about things like that, mistakes people made in their lives, and I'm going to hold it against them. I'm not like a grudge-holding person. But it's personal because I have these dreams, and I have these goals for myself. I want to support my family. I have these dreams for me and my family, and he's in my way. That's why it's personal. He's trying to stop me from accomplishing my goals, my dreams, the things that I work so hard for. The sacrifices I make with my family for my family, and time with my family I miss out on. He's trying to take the reason why I do that away from me. That's why it's personal.
Are you certain he's clean? Do you feel
No,
certain?
I'm not certain he's clean.
Does that bother you?
No, nope. I can't worry about it at this point. It doesn't matter. I can't worry about if he's TRT'd up or he's freaking has special potions that they figured out can't be tested. I have to go out there and completely dismantle this guy, no matter what he looks like, no matter how fast he is, how strong he is, how good he is. I had to go out there and completely make a statement and let everybody know that I'm the man in this weight class. I'm the king of this weight, and that nobody in this weight has a chance of beating me. I'm going to make a statement with this fight.
Is part of that also to remind people that you are one of the best fighters in the
Yeah,
world?
I guess I got to remind these people. People have short-term memories.
You're not even the main event.
I'm not the main event. I am the main event.
In your mind.
I'm the main event, yeah.
But officially you're not.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm the only champion out here.
That
I'm
is
the
true.
only champion out
So
here.
shouldn't you be the main event?
Honestly, I don't care. Like,
don't-
if I was you and I was sitting home and I was thinking about these things, there's a good case that yes, Chris Weidman could be the main event. But honestly, I don't have time to even think about. I don't care that much. All I know is that I got to show up on May 23rd and completely dominate Vitor Belfort.
On the scale of guys you fought, Anderson, Lyoto, Mark Munoz in his prime, where do you rank him? Anderson post.
We'll find out after Saturday night. I'll let you know after Saturday night.
You don't know.
Yeah, I'm expecting a terror. I'm expecting a guy who's trying to take my head off for 25 minutes, and but this one is going to be finished. It's going to be finished within the first or second round.
Really? How do you foresee it?
You never know, but it's going to be.
You think it'll be
I'm
short?
completely dominating him.
And then you got these pit bulls coming after you, in the form of Luke Rockhold, and everyone's high on him these days. Sakara. Do you feel that? Do you want to be active now? Like you get by him?
Oh yeah. I like exciting fights. I like when people think that I like when there's doubters out there. I like when people think I can't beat somebody. I love that. That's what gets me excited. So if anybody who I want to fight these big fights. Anybody out there that thinks they're good, I want to fight them.
But if you get by him quickly, you want to get back in there quickly?
Oh yeah. I want to fight as much as I can. I want to look back 15 years from now, knowing that I gave my all to this sport, because I know in 15 years from now, I just don't want to have any regrets. I just want to know that I had the most fun with this thing, because I know I'll miss it. I know I'm going to miss this every opportunity. I know I'll miss talking to you, being on camera. I know I'll miss walking through the casinos with the fans, and fighting in front of millions of people. So I'm enjoying every part of this, and I'm the best at what I do, thank God. And I'm just going to go out there and show that on Saturday night.
And finally, speaking of missing, last thing, then I'll let you go. Gosh, you talk about crying. When I watched your kids wail as you say goodbye to them.
Oh man, good thing I had sunglasses on, because I was crying too. I'm definitely emotional. I mean, geez, I was crying in this interview.
Yeah.
I was crying. Because I got a big heart. I got an amazing family. From my parents, my brothers, my sister, my cousins, my wife, my kids. I really am so blessed with an amazing family. I love them all, and I want to make them proud.
But does that eat you up, or does that give you motivation? I mean,
Motivation.
It's tough though. It's tough to stomach though, right? To hear them like that.
When I see, but it's that was the hardest send off I ever had for my kids. They're getting older now. They understand that they're not going to see daddy for a while. They know I'm going on a plane. My daughter knows I'm fighting, and so it's hard, to see them like that, for sure. But they'll be out here for this fight. I'll see them again. But it's tough, but it's a sacrifice. That's what I'm saying. I'm missing time, and I'm gonna make it pay off.
Thank you so much, Chris. Appreciate it. Best of luck to you, my friend.
Thank you.